In the coming years, in order to compete with Russia and China, the transatlantic alliance will need to prioritize the adoption and integration of new cutting-edge defense technologies.
When it comes to thinking about the defense technology priorities of the transatlantic community over the next 10 years, what comes to mind for me is rather how we think about the technologies, not a specific technology or group of technologies. The first aspect for me is redundancy. How are we balancing efficiency versus redundancy, and are we doing it based on the correct assumptions? How is that impacting technical redundancy and the way in which we build the technical systems? And finally, do we have redundancy in personnel that is sufficient? Do we have enough people who can use the technology? Do we have enough trainers and training opportunities for personnel? And do we have enough parts and personnel who can repair the different forms of technology that we are integrating but already have, especially the foundational technologies that are key to the functioning of a military? Often when we talk about the resiliency of technology, we look at a specific technology, but I want to know, what is the resiliency of this system that combines old technology, new technology, and people? Do we have sufficient ability to partner in terms of joint operations where both have boots on the ground? But also, do we have the ability to partner sufficiently through supplying technological support, such as supplying of weapon systems to these less technologically advanced militaries?
The US and its European allies and partners must prioritize space-enabled capabilities, such as geospatial intelligence, global positioning system or GPS, and satellite communications to provide better information to decision makers in real time. We must invest in prioritizing unmanned systems. These have traditionally been sources of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities, but have the capacity to do so much more. In the next decade, unmanned systems will be the key to increasing precision on the battlefield. We've seen unmanned systems play a role in Russia's war in Ukraine. They have enabled Ukrainians to monitor the front lines and make significant gains over the last 7 months. Hypersonic propulsion systems developed by the military could be adapted to meet civil and commercial needs, therefore increasing their strategic value.
This technology can compensate for larger, more complex, more expensive systems just by using the principle of speed. Unlike conventional ballistic missiles, hypersonic weapons can fly at least 5 times the speed of sound at low altitude while retaining high maneuverability. This makes them incredibly difficult to detect and defend against. For example, hypersonic missiles can travel so fast and so low they can penetrate pretty much every conventional air defense system that exists today, meaning they can potentially take out strategic capabilities such as aircraft carriers. This would obviously have enormous implications for the US and other NATO countries' ability to meaningfully project power beyond their own borders.
Hypersonics have the potential to shift the global balance of power and transform the capability gap between NATO and near-peer competitors, as well as potential emerging powers. It's insufficient to create offensive hypersonic weapons if you cannot simultaneously defend against them. That's got to be part of the equation as well.
We also need to pay close attention to our competitors when it comes to developing next-generation unmanned systems. China's strategy, for example, is often to achieve critical mass through deploying large volumes of drones or swarms of drones, with the purpose of overwhelming larger, more complex standalone systems. The prospect of new developments in nanotechnology mean that future unmanned systems could be extremely small and able to evade detection. The eureka moment will be when these systems can self-replicate and proliferate in numbers exponentially. These unmanned systems will also be able to operate under sea as well as in the air and on land, meaning that some of our most vital strategic weapons platforms, such as our undersea nuclear deterrent, could be highly vulnerable to targeting. Given the current rate of progression, in the next 10 to 20 years, we can expect other game-changing capabilities, such as space-enabled direct energy weapons that can hit a moving target at the speed of light, or quantum supercomputers that can problem-solve every conceivable military task, as well as decipher every encrypted communications device due to exponential computer processing power. The key to defending ourselves against all of these radical new technologies and threats is by ensuring that we as a transatlantic community are prioritizing and developing the same capabilities ourselves. Only by doing this can we ensure a credible level of deterrence and an ability to deter our competitors from ever using these weapons in pursuit of their own strategic objectives.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine provides a clear case study that we can use now to assess whether we have these three aspects and have been looking at them sufficiently, and if we are thinking about technology correctly. We can look at the Russian side of the invasion, we can look at the Ukrainian side, the line of contact between the two, but also the struggles and assumptions that we had as NATO, the EU, US in supplying support to Ukraine, a key partner, and use this to understand what priorities we need to change in how we think about technology over the next 10 years.